Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new live stream. Holy shit. it's hot today. It has to be said. It is bloody warm today. So welcome to the stream. Welcome to a warm stream. Welcome to a stream that you're going to hear a fan in the background of. I'm here, and the Doctor Who finale's been out. I know it's a day late, but the England match was on yesterday, and even if I wasn't watching, what an abysmal display that was, people would have been watching that anyway. So I thought I would come here to say hello to you today instead, and we get a little treat, because by doing it a day later, we get one more Hoodle we can do. Before we get into all that, let's say hello to everyone here. Welcome to Umbrella Haymaker, Dr. Master, I don't even know, Literal Truth, Cybernova DW, Mr. Scarlo, even Marnie. Who else have I missed? Oasis Central, welcome. So, today we are back on the Who Bulletin. If this is your first time here and you're not familiar with what's going on, just sail on for the ride. This is usually how it goes. Complete rambling, followed by some actual interesting things, apparently, to talk about. Oh, shit. So, the finale's come out. There's dust everywhere. There are drinks in the background, which looks like I've been having a party. I haven't. I'm just really lazy and forgot to take them out to the kitchen. Shit. There we go. Well, it is Doctor Who. Doctor Who's been out. Doctor Who's finale's come out. The finale's be here. You may have seen some tweets that I put out, but I thought I would talk about my official thoughts on that here. And it's been very controversial, this episode. A lot of people love it, a lot of people don't. All for very valid reasons. Now, I'm in the former camp. I actually quite like this episode. So, yeah. Very exciting. Wayne, correct gravy or incorrect curry sauce with a chippy? See, you ruined it, right? Chip butty with gravy, right? Not necessarily from a chip shop, but that's the thing. If you're doing chip shop, I'd say curry sauce in like a little pot that you can dip in. But if you're talking like a deli with like sort of naff chips, big, bap with butter on, gravy every day of the week. Gravy, chip, butty and gravy, absolutely marvellous. I used to have that in sixth form all the time. Talking a bit like Russell T Davies there, wasn't I? There's a little bit of a Russell T Davies description. You know when Russell T Davies talks about his own scripts and he goes, oh, that's marvellous. It's wonderful, it's marvellous, one of the biggest stories you ever... Yeah, it was like that. That's how I talk about chips and gravy. Welcome to the stream if this is your first time. I don't know what you're going to think of it so far. Roll, bun, bap, I don't give a fuck what you call it, man. I've lived in Newcastle, I'm from Yorkshire, and I live in London now, so what do you expect? Do you think Disney will renew the contract with Doctor Who? Yes, why wouldn't they? It's doing well. People like to point out the ratings, but no one knows the Disney Plus ratings, for a start, and we know that Doctor Who is doing well in the UK. The BBC have published stuff, obviously, in objection to the viewing figures, but in terms of actual popularity, in terms of rewatches on iPlayer, it's doing incredibly well, especially compared to other dramas. So that's good. I think it's the top drama of the year so far, and especially good for a younger demographic, which is great. So it's all really good stuff. A bomb is the only thing I can't call it. So, yeah, before we get into all that sort of nonsense, let's do the Hoodle. So the Hoodle, if you're not familiar, we get an image of something Doctor Who related from a Doctor Who episode, and we have to guess what episode it is. You guys don't have to. You can just kind of be along for the ride and watch me fuck myself over. So I'm going to try and guess. I'm going to try and convince myself that I'm good at these things. I'm going to say this is Family of Blood. That's my guess. I was wrong. What is that? Like a woods or something? Tooth and Claw would be my next guess. No, neither. It's human nature. I'm an idiot. So I was right, sort of, with the first one, which is kind of annoying. I was so close. I feel like Cold Blood. We're back live? Are we live? we live? Are we live? Are we live? I hope we're live. That would be good. Tell me if we're live. Can you hear what I'm saying? Let's just get that one again. Oh, god damn, I don't know what happened there. My Wi-Fi never goes down, actually. It's really interesting. I want to see what the other images were. That makes sense. Anyway, this one. Hello. We're all back. That's good. Scary spinning wheel. 29. Victory of the Daleks, maybe? I know that's probably wrong. No, it's definitely wrong. Satan Pit, maybe? No. Impossible Planet. Yes, okay, yeah. Yep, checks out. Let's checks out. Just join the stream, how are we doing? Welcome, Doctor Who Mania. That was a bit of a delayed thing. Hard one. I'm thinking deep breath. Maybe. What am I thinking? I'm trying to speak my thought process here. I'm thinking that's Jenny, maybe, and I'm thinking it's the scene where they have to hold their breath, and it's all slow motion and really close on the eyes. Oh, yeah. Right, so the exact thing I was talking about. So Jenny, Clara, Strax, Vastra, Doctor. Cool. No. What is it called? The Rebel Flesh. It's Rebel Flesh or Almost People. It's one of the two. There we go. Knew it. Cool. And then we've got what else? Oh, that's quite a difficult one. I feel like I should know this. Someone said Robot of Sherwood, and that's as good a guess as any. If that's correct, then stop cheating. Oh, it's a Geordie one. Oh yeah, I know that's why I recognise it, because it's on the floor of Geordie's bloody TARDIS. I think this one is the Battle of Ranskor of Kolos. And I'm bloody correct as well. Look at that. From a muddy puddle. That tells you a lot about what I remember about that episode. Gotta be God Complex, innit? Love God Complex. It's not. What the fuck? Where is it? Oh, it's Arachnids in the UK. I saw a hotel and I ran with it. Shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have noticed the aspect ratio is different. Like here, for example, where the aspect ratio is different, and I can't remember what the fuck episode this is from. It's got to be a Geordie one, isn't it? I'm thinking maybe Ghost Monument. If that's right, I'm too good at this. Oh, that's terrible, George. Jesus Christ, really? Fucking hell. I feel like I might have done this one last time, but I can't remember which one it is. Matt Smith or David Tennant era. I'm honestly not really sure about this one, to be honest. I think I might have even done it last week, but I can't remember. When was the 18th? Yeah, that was last Tuesday, so we did already do this one. Into the fucking Dalek. Right, yeah. We've done quite well today. A lot of those ones are first guesses. There's only a couple that we didn't really get first time round. So that's fun. We'll be back here next week with more of that, of course. As per. For now, though, let's talk about the finale. What did you all think of the finale? The Empire of Death. What do we all think about it? And I will tell you, as you're telling me, what I think about it. So, Doctor Who finales for me generally aren't very good because they never live up to the expectations that everyone puts on it. And I think the expectations are valid. I don't think it's anyone's fault. I think it's just the writers are unable to come up with a really satisfying conclusion in that space of time. Doctor Who works with great cliffhangers in a penultimate episode, World Enough in Time, for example. But The Doctor Falls is like probably one of the better finales. But even when I watched that for the first time, I remember I hated Doctor Falls when I first watched it. I thought, shit, I just thought they immediately went back on killing off Bill. Immediately, but I didn't really appreciate the character moments, and I think that's what I come back to on reflection. with this finale, I think I am biased because I watched it at BFI IMAX, and that was a phenomenal experience. But I think a lot of the stuff that a lot of people didn't like, don't really matter as much to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't really care that much. For me, like, I don't think it's in any way bad. I think some stuff could have been wrapped up better, but it's sort of like a bad reason for a really interesting, good concept. Why was Frank Skinner there? Frank Skinner was there because they probably couldn't get anyone else. Frank Skinner... It was a nice surprise, though, because I quite like Frank Skinner. He's quite funny, and he was in Doctor Who, and he's a Doctor Who fan, like a massive one. So he's been watching the series. It's funny because they made some jokes about Space Babies, which I thought was interesting, because it shows the general consensus there with Space Babies is that it's a bit of a naff episode. For me, Doctor Who Twitter does ruin it, 100%. I think a lot of people didn't like it, and a lot of people like to express that. But the thing with Doctor Who, and I think that's always been the case with Doctor Who fans, and it's not, I'm one of them. That's not a criticism on anyone in particular. Is that we do get tied up in quite, like, really over obsessive, like negative criticisms on things we don't like, and that's fine. But like, for most people, you can just sort of watch something, not really like vibe with it, be a little bit annoyed about it, I guess, but. We're like almost a week on from the episode coming out now, and people are still really fucking angry about it, and I don't quite get that. I think that's a bit strange. But, each to your own. It's not my place to tell you what you can and can't express when it comes to an episode. For me, I enjoyed it, so obviously it's very easy for me to say, well, stop being negative. So for me, a lot of people were disappointed with the Sutek's demise. I wasn't. I think you have to be fucking realistic, right? Anyone who wanted Sutek to come back and then is now turning around and going, oh my god, they ruined it. It's like, God, get a fucking grip. I mean, realistically, if they brought Sutek back in the modern form, it was never going to work, right? It just wouldn't. It just fucking wouldn't. Because the thing with Classic Who is, you bring back a Classic Who villain, right? With Classic Who, you have hours to almost explore these concepts, right? Sutek was in Pyramids of Mars. Pyramids of Mars is 4 episodes long, and by nature in that, you have a lot of time to build up the fear of this character. More time than what this episode gets. Now, you could also argue that it's a case of this episode also having 2 full episodes that are almost an hour long, and it had more than enough time, but the reveal of Sutek didn't come till the end of the first episode. And whatever you feel about that, I'll take it, because it was a great reveal, it was a great cliffhanger. Oh, massively great cliffhanger, and I loved that. And I thought Sutek coming back was brilliant. I don't think he was wasted. I thought it was amazing having Gabriel Wolf do the voice again. I thought that was a fantastic little inclusion to bring him back. I thought he was brilliant in it. It was like a really compelling villain, obviously, because he's a fucking talented voice actor. And I think, yeah, I just enjoyed the stakes of it. And people are saying, oh, well, he's a god of death, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, he killed everyone in existence. What else do you fucking want? Okay, it happened off screen, but what do we want? Just like an hour of watching people disintegrate? No, it was it's fine. I'm glad that unit immediately got killed off. I'm glad that like all the family got killed off. You obviously know it's going to be reversed, but there's no way of doing that. There's no way of doing the God of Death winning without doing all that. They basically did what Avengers Endgame did, but instead of it waiting a whole season to sort of resolve it, they get straight on it. Now, what would have been ballsy is bringing back Sutek and spending the whole episode of him slowly taking over, and you think the Doctor's going to win, and he doesn't. But the problem is then you can't really have a Christmas special, can you? And it sort of would work quite well to build people up to the next series, but it's just not how TV's kind of viewed anymore, and I feel like even Doctor Who in the past, they always tend to wrap up their stories, you know? But with this, yeah, I thought this, okay, put Sutek on a leash and drag him into the time vortex, yada, yada, yada. Sure. But in the original, he sat in a chair for fucking 2 hours and then got out of his chair and slowly moved towards the Doctor in a fucking time tunnel, at which the Doctor pressed a few buttons and then he went and fucking reversed him back and disappeared into the time vortex. Like, at least with this, it's something massive and impactful, and like a sort of feels like a grand moment. The Doctor gets this moment to really have his own at Sutek, and I really liked that. I thought the design was brilliant. I thought the concept of him latching onto the TARDIS since Pyramids of Mars was brilliant. Landing a new, creating a form of life everywhere the TARDIS lands just emphasises the impact of that, and I love that. love it massively. So I'm a big fan of all of the Sutekh stuff, and even the way he was killed. I thought it was cinematically gorgeous, using Sutekh's powers to reverse the powers of death, killing death with, death to death equals life. Yeah, okay, it's a bit illogical, but I like the mythology behind it. I like the fact that you're using Sutekh's powers of death to reverse whatever he's done to the population of the universe before disintegrating him into the time vortex. I thought that was interesting. I thought the visuals were amazing, and I was super impressed with it. I don't have anything wrong with all that. I understand big fans of Sutekh, big fans of Pyramid Mars will be like, well, the original was better. I'm like, oh, well, yeah, of course it was. But it's like when John Sim came back, he wasn't an exact replica of fucking Roger Delgado, was he? No. So Sutekh coming back ever in New Who would never come back as the same fucking thing with the same mask. It would be a big dog or something equivalent, right? It was always going to be something like that. I'm personally also a little bit disappointed. It would have been cool to have that. A little gripe for me, Sutekh should have had green eyes. Why didn't Sutekh have green eyes? It's all well and good that the Doctor, when he sort of got like attacked by Sutekh's like death ray or whatever, he sort of glowed green for a couple seconds, but like little things like that. Sutekh had green eyes in the original, should have green eyes here. Fine. That's all it was for me. I don't know why we needed to do, but then if you want to be nitpicky, that's my kind of nitpicking. I don't really get the nitpicking where it's like, oh, well, Sutekh wouldn't be defeated like that. It's like, he fucking was in the original story. He wasn't even freed in the original story, and I know that has greater weight, but you can't bring Sutekh back and him not be free. It's, yeah. That's true, and I agree with literal truth actually there, is that, yeah, it would have been nice to see the Doctor outsmart Sutekh, but I don't think you can outsmart the literal god of death. I think that's the problem with that, that's why the stakes are so high. If the Doctor can outsmart gods who don't obey the laws of physics, then how does that work? Like the Toymaker, he beats him in a game. Maestro, he fights them with music. He finds the hidden chord and exiles them. With the god of death, we have him killing the god of death because it's the only way that would work. And I think that concept is interesting, is with other villains like the Master or like Time Lords or Daleks or whatever, outsmarting them is the best thing to do, but you can't outsmart a god. That's why that's a new interesting way of doing it. Now, we've seen that quite a lot in the last series, which is why it's probably getting a bit old, and we're going to see another god next series probably. It would be nice to see some classic villains return. It would be nice to see a Dalek episode or something equivalent where we see the Doctor do more outsmarting than just kind of getting lucky. So I completely agree with that, but I also think there's no other way you could do Sutekh, right? Yes, in the original he's outsmarted, but he's outsmarted because Sutekh has a disadvantage by, disappearing into the void. I don't know. What am I doing? Disappearing into the void? No, he has an advantage because Sutekh's like been strapped to a chair and imprisoned for years by other gods, right? Have you seen the War Between Land and Sea news? Filming in September, according to TV Zone. I haven't seen that, but I would quite like to. Oh, I'm so excited, man. I'm so excited for that. People are like, why? Why are you excited for that? I remember I talked about it on Who's There, the podcast. I sort of talked about that. And we're sort of like, oh, it has been. Is it announced? It's not announced, though. What we doing? The series will reportedly focus on the Sea Devils, not confirmed. A villain first seen opposite John Pertwee's third Doctor before returning opposite Jodie Whittaker's 13th in 2022. A source, I'll read this out on stream actually. A source told The Sun, Doctor Who fans love the monsters, and the War Between Land and Sea will hopefully give viewers something new and different to enjoy. The Sea Devils and their cousins, the Silurians, have both featured in 21st century Doctor Who, so modern audiences will feel familiar with them too. The latest series of Doctor Who has become the BBC's biggest drama of the year so far for younger viewers, as well as consistently being one of the best performing titles on iPlayer. Season 1 of Doctor Who saw Ncuti Gatwa return as the 15th Doctor alongside Millie Gibson as Ruby Sunday after they made their highly acclaimed debut on Christmas Day in the Church of Ruby Road. Within the series, the Doctor and Ruby travel through time and space on adventures into unknown lands to Regency era in England, outer space worlds in the 60s, yada yada. Okay, so that's all it is we don't have any confirmation. So it says to begin from. Okay, so it's just following. That's all it is really. So following reports from production listings, it'll commence in September. Cool. That's cool. I'm excited for that. People don't really get why people are excited for that. I'm excited for that because people go around going, "Oh, Torchwood Reborn," or "Oh, Unit spin-off," or a Dalek spin-off, or whatever. Right? For me, them turning around and going, Sea Devil spin-off, and feels like such a bad business decision that you have to be interested by that. You have to think, what story have they got to tell that's so good that this is the spin-off they go with? I'm game, whatever it is, I'm interested. I wonder if it'll be like a CBBC thing. A bit like Sarah Jane Adventures, focus on the monster side of things. Because it's something that people don't expect. Yeah, it's completely random, but I would prefer this, honestly, almost to a unit spin-off. Because a unit spin-off is like, with this, it's like Sea Devils, Silurians, and maybe other monsters, but you don't actually know what it is. The War Between Land and Sea could very well just be a filler title. We don't actually know exactly what they're going for yet. Yeah. But fantastic. Yeah. Very, very exciting news, I'd say, that we're getting a spin-off anyway. Let's not complain about what spin-off we get until we see it and maybe make our own judgments. Maybe it will be shit, but we don't know that. They haven't even started filming it yet, so let's give it a chance. I'm excited for a spin-off. And I love that they're cracking on with that. This feels like Russell T Davies' first era again, where we get the series come out. Series 2 is already filmed, and we're getting the spin-off being filmed as well. Fantastic. I feel like it's interesting people bring up these sort of like continuity things with Sutek. Sutek chose to appear in the moment in the universe, right? Why did he choose to appear in this moment? That's a good question. That is actually a good question. Possibly because of the recent events with Ruby's mom. I feel like that's the whole thing. That instigates the whole story. Like, the Sutek couldn't recognise Ruby's mum, so Sutek has been confused the whole series and sort of like, yeah. And as soon as they bring it up and start to explore it, he's sort of like, right, I guess it's time now. But I don't know 100%. No one knows. That's the whole thing. But that to me makes the most sense because he's obsessed with finding out who this woman is, and that's his thing. And then beyond that, the other question, why didn't Sutek die when the TARDIS burned in the Journey's End? Because the TARDIS didn't burn in Journey's End. It started to, and then it didn't die. Anything that happens to the TARDIS happens to Sutek, right? People see it as Sutek literally sitting on top of the TARDIS. That is not literally exactly what's going on. He didn't just turn invisible and sit on top of the TARDIS. He became one with the machine. He sort of merged himself. He's a god. He doesn't obey the laws of physics. He's not an actual giant dog. He's a... Oh shit, what's happened there? Oh my god, everything disappeared for a second there. Are we live? Can you see me? Oh shit, it's the fucking it's the teleprompter, so now I can't read your guys' comments. That's good. Oh dear. Okay, it's turning on now. But basically what I was saying... Oh my god. So basically what I was saying was, for me, yeah, oh, fucking hell, George. Come on. Alright, there we go, we're back. I think. Yeah, for me, I don't see the problem with it. I don't think the TARDIS didn't burn in Journey's End, right? It didn't. It got thrown into a sun, it started to burn, then it materialised away, right? The TARDIS is fine, therefore, Sutek is fine, right? People are talking about, what was the other one that people are sort of talking about, is that a continuity error? Oh, when the TARDIS, like, blew up in Smith's era. But it didn't, though, did it? That's the whole fucking point. That gets reversed. That doesn't happen. It does and doesn't happen. So long as the TARDIS is there, so is Sutek. Oh, the TARDIS has got split in two in the giggle. Right? Yeah. But Russell, in the commentary for the giggle, said that there is a factual evidence that we'll see in this series that Ncuti's TARDIS is the same TARDIS that's always been. He hasn't got the copy TARDIS. It implies that David Tennant's Doctor, 14th Doctor, has the copy TARDIS, which doesn't have Sutek on it. And the proof there being that Sutek has been latched onto the TARDIS since Pyramids of Mars, and Sutek has latched onto Ncuti's TARDIS, not David's. That's the difference. Flatline. Yeah, but the TARDIS still exists, so his consciousness is still attached to it. The fact of the matter is, story-wise, you know full well that wasn't planned the whole time, right? But it does work, because the TARDIS has still made it to this point. If the TARDIS has never, hasn't died, and still exists, then so does Sutek. Sutek has bound itself. I see it more metaphorical than it is literal. It isn't a big dog sitting on top of a TARDIS, but invisible. It is sort of mixed itself into the soul of the TARDIS, into the heart of the TARDIS. Like, This is a being of unimaginable power. We don't know its true extent, really. That's how we perceive it. That's how he wants to be perceived. This giant, scary, big dog. But he's just a consciousness, right? That has latched itself onto the TARDIS. I don't think it's anything like that. Would you like to see... Oh, thank you very much for the super chat. That's very much appreciated. Thank you, Dr. Who Mania, for the Is that euros? €2.49. Thank you very much. Much appreciated, man. Would you like to see Class return under Russell T Davies? No, I don't want to see Class return at all, really, for me. I didn't really enjoy it that much. And as much as I think it's a good little extra, the biggest flaw of Class is it wasn't in any way related to the main show. They had Capaldi show up in it, but there was no reason in the show to care about what happened in Class. That's what you need with spin-offs. If you want people to watch the spin-offs, it has to be relevant to what's happening in the main show. The main show is the main continuity. Sarah Jane Adventures, you know, we saw Journey's End and Stolen Earth. We saw The End of Time, where we see Luke pop up, right? We see these characters who appear in Sarah Jane Adventures and are introduced in Sarah Jane Adventures who appear for cameos in the main show, and vice versa. Then the Doctor appears more in Sarah Jane Adventures. The Doctor never appeared in Torchwood, no, but Torchwood appears in Doctor Who. Captain Jack carries on across. Capaldi shows up at the beginning of Class, introduces himself, saves the day, and then fucks off. It has no bearing on the series, and it doesn't really... And he doesn't stick around, so there's no real reason to keep an eye on it. There's no characters in Class who are from Doctor Who, originally, and there's never a reappearance of those characters in the show of Doctor Who. What it feels like is Doctor Who needed a year break, so they offloaded a budget to make a Doctor Who spin-off to fill that gap, because it came out in 2016, did Class, and that was the one year we didn't have a Doctor Who series. We had Series 9 in 2015, and Series 10 in 2017, but we didn't have anything in 2016. And I think it was because the budget was offloaded to make a spin-off instead, so Stephen Moffat could focus on working on the main show again. That was the idea. So, yeah. But yeah, for me, that's all good. The thing that people have more of an issue with is the Ruby's mum stuff, and that's where I do take more of an issue as well. So for me, I love that Ruby's mum is normal, personally. I think that Ruby's mum is normal and is great, and I love that. I love that element of the story. I think her being normal is probably the best thing they could have done with it. Now, obviously, you'll see my previous reviews and theories where I've been like, oh, it could be Susan, it could be this. That's what we're made to think, and the twist being that it is non-ordinary, I think works. The thing that doesn't work for me is her pointing at a sign and naming Ruby. That is a bit weird, to be honest. And the way they did the whole masking of the face thing, I think is interesting. Why did she wear a cloak? Why does she do this? Yada, yada, yada. And the thing is, I'm not sitting here and trying to explain all that, because I've got no explanation for that. It doesn't really make sense to me. They're aware of it. I've watched the commentary track of the episode with Russell, and he sort of jokes about how she has a cloak on, and it doesn't really make any sense. And he sort of says, in his mind, it's the TARDIS is like perception filter. Fine, okay, whatever, it's fine. I don't need in-depth explanations if it's just going to be something like that. For me, why didn't you do Twitch yesterday? Well, the football match was on. England were playing, and they weren't playing very well, but I did have plans to go and watch them, and I thought more people would be watching that as opposed to watching my stream, so I thought I'll do it on Wednesday instead. But that does mean Twitch will be happening after this, don't you worry. Don't you worry. Yeah, it has to be said, yeah, I do take great issue with the sort of kind of quick explanation. Oh, it's just someone normal, and these reasons don't make any sense. But hey ho, we don't care. Oh, she was pointing at a sign, and that's why she's named that way. That is silly. Don't get me wrong. All of that is silly, but I don't care. I don't care, because the episode's intention and the last 10 minutes of the episode. Last 15 minutes of the episode focus on Ruby's mum coming back and Ruby getting to meet her, and it's so emotionally heartfelt. I absolutely fucking adore it. I genuinely do. They, like, the lamppost wasn't even seen in the church on Ruby Road. Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things that just doesn't make any sense, and it's sort of a thing. And now that can kind of be explained by, my memory of this keeps changing. Sure, but that also isn't explained why the memory of it keeps changing. I don't get why they got there. And the fact of the matter is, it's sort of like really interesting setup, really good idea for a payoff, but the middle bit, how you get from A to B, doesn't work, right? And I think that's the thing that people take the most issue with. But for me, it's Doctor Who. I don't care that much. For me, the scene where Ruby met her mum at the cafe almost made me cry. The scene where Ruby says goodbye in the TARDIS almost made me cry. I love the idea that she's like, right, let's go, more adventures, and she's getting phone calls, and she's just met her mum. She's trying to hide the fact that her life has changed and that she needs to be a part of it so she can go on more adventures with the Doctor and not leave him, but he knows. And as soon as she's there, and I love it, the subtlety of it, when she walks in the TARDIS and he's like, where do you want to go? And she's like, oh, anywhere you want. It's not about her anymore. She doesn't actually want to go anywhere. She just doesn't want to give up on the Doctor. And as soon as she says anywhere you want to the Doctor, he's like, Ruby, like, it's okay. And that is beautiful. I really, 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 really loved that scene, and that was just wonderful. The scene between them, her saying she loves the Doctor, him not saying it back, and then breaking down crying as soon as she leaves the TARDIS. That for me is peak Doctor Who. That's the kind of stuff I really, really like to see. It's a shame though that I feel like throughout the series it hasn't been built up to more. It's a shame we didn't get more of a build up between Ruby and the Doctor's dynamic, and that is obviously down to Shooty filming Sex Education and not being able to film much for two of the episodes out of 8. But it would have been nice to see them develop more before having such a like sort of sad farewell. Now we know Ruby's coming back in the next series. We're going to see her again, so it does. That's all right. But yeah, no, I love it. I love what they did with that scene, and I love what they did with the cafe scene. I love what they did with them. Oh, pardon me. Ruby meeting her mum was so normal, and the performances were so good. Like the direction was excellent, but the performances were absolutely stunning. Like I just love it. Yeah, I absolutely love that. And obviously, I don't. Again, none of the reasons as to why we got there made sense. Like, well, why was this 15-year-old wearing a cloak? Why did she point at a sign to name her baby? That doesn't make any fucking sense. I just think that they could have sat down for another couple hours and thought, well, let's come up with some better reasons as to why these things were happening, as opposed to just, yeah. I like the sentiment that because there's a mystery around her, it becomes a bigger deal in time and space. Obviously, the whole thing about it snowing everywhere, people had a complaint. But there's some things like the snow were explained in The Legend of Ruby Sunday, but people weren't fucking listening. You can watch, there's a scene in Legend of Ruby Sunday where the Doctor's like, it's like, oh, well, I could go back there. However, when it snows all the fucking time when we talk about this, when Ruby thinks about her past. That point in time is so strong and emotional and open and raw that I can't revisit it, because even when it's thought about, even when that moment is thought about in time, it starts to snow, it starts to connect, and that in itself is dangerous. And we know what the Doctor's like with fixed points in time. Yes, he has broken them before. Yes, he's found ways out of it, but this is one where it seemed pretty much like a no-go. It was given in the Space Babies, it was given in Legend of Ruby Sunday. People are like, oh, it was never explained why it snows, why would it snow for a 15-year-old? It's not about her, it's about time. Yeah, the song is the same thing. It's an echo of that memory, of what was there at the church. The sounds, the smells, the visuals, everything from that scene in time sort of echoes throughout other times. And I think that's an interesting concept. And for me, I got that. A lot of people didn't really seem to like that, and that's fair. For me, it was the problem of pointing at the sign. I thought that was silly. And I thought her wearing the cloak was a bit silly. But other than that, I actually really enjoyed a lot of what the episode was doing. I loved the ending. I loved how we got there. I think most of the episode is brilliant. I loved how it connects to 73 yards. When they referenced the Roger Alk William, I was like, that's actually great, because it means there's just more to it, you know. There's a lot of questions people had after 73 yards, and it actually explained a little bit more about 73 yards, as well as giving some context as to that's how they get out of it, by reaping the rewards of this terrible, terrible Prime Minister. And I thought that was interesting, and I love stuff like that, because it makes it feel like we're watching part of a bigger story. Rewards people for sticking around with it and watching all the episodes. If you didn't watch 73 yards, then that bit won't have really hit as hard for you, but it did for me in the cinema. I was like, oh my god, they're actually doing stuff with other episodes in the series. Amazing. The intelligent gloves and the fucking magic rope from the Goblin ship in Church on Ruby Road. All of that stuff is just like great, because we're linking back to stuff we've already seen, already had explained, already makes sense. Yeah, I loved all of that. Mrs. Flood was incredible. I love that scene at the end. It is peak camp, and I'm sure we'll find out more as time goes on. A lot of people seem quite impatient with what this is and what we're sort of talking about with this episode, and I completely understand that. But you bear in mind, Russell's already talked about this again in the commentary thing. He mentioned that it's a 2-series story. Disney commissioned 2 series off the bat initially, and he's written 2 series that coerce with each other. At the end of season 2, a lot more stuff from this series will probably be explained, and that I have faith in now. Understanding that, I have faith in that. Mrs. Flood is definitely going to be exciting next series. I'm excited to see what she's going to be about, how and why she breaks the 4th wall, but isn't able to escape Sutek's gift of death. Yeah, there's a lot of questions with that, but I love that. I love coming away with questions. The last thing I want, and I'm not trying to use this to slate Jodie's era. I do love Jodie's era, you know this. But like coming away from Battle of Ranskor Kolos, did you have many fucking questions? Not really. I was just kind of like, oh, okay, that all wraps up nicely then, cool. The Timeless Child, but that was mentioned in the 2nd episode and never again. It's not something that echoed through. You could have done so much with that. You could have just started referencing, Yeah, her storm down your pearly gates line was brilliant. She will be a morally neutral character, which I quite like. I think the mystery of Mrs. Flood is very engaging. I think it's one of the best ones the show has done in a long time. Because I'm sort of genuinely invested, and I love the fact that they didn't answer it this series. I love the fact that they're waiting even longer, because it was one of the most interesting things coming away from Church on Ruby Road. So I was really interested to have that, and it was glad to see Ruby's story wrap up, but not Mrs. Flood's. Not a few more stuff. Susan Foreman, we're probably going to get that in the next year. We've got to, and I'd be so excited about that one. So fingers crossed. You never know. But it has to be said, I'm very excited, especially for the Christmas special. Oh yeah, well that's a lot of talking. Before we, and we're not going to move on just yet, but one thing I am going to do is. We are gonna do something fucking cool. No, we're not. Yeah, we'll put that in there. Okay, fucking hell, that's a big fucking thumbnail. Jesus Christ. Tomorrow, this episode is coming out. Obviously, I have a podcast. You know about it. We talk about it every single week. That is like really downscaled, like awfully. Oh my god, that's really funny. That's actually awful. Shit. Hang on. Let's do the YouTube version instead. That's probably better. Oh my god. It's not much better. Fuck me, George. Yes, I have a podcast, but this episode, it is relevant because we're talking about Doctor Who. My full Season 1 episode ranking and full season review of this series of Doctor Who will be coming out tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. So not even... Well, just over 12 hours. But we have a podcast, as you probably all are aware, of course. It's called Nostalgia Bait. We've been going for a little while. As you can see, tomorrow's episode is episode 19, which is great. We've had a few good ones recently, and we've got our actual own YouTube channel. I bring Sheard's gift of podcasts. Oh, you guys are lush. So the YouTube channel, the brand new YouTube channel, which has only been launched recently, is now linked in the chat. And you can now click on that, go and subscribe if you haven't already. It's on screen here. We upload all the sort of highlights, all the shorts, like the funny clips that we've got. As you can see, there's quite a few already, as well as all the full video podcasts on here as well. So you can check out all of that from episode 16 onwards. We do video, so you can check that out on here. And that's a lot of fun. We've got 79 subscribers already, so if you can, go and check that out and get us up a little bit higher. Let's see if we can get to 80. That would be lovely, at least. And beyond that, let's see if we can get to 100 subscribers. That'd be really nice. We've got the Doctor Who episode coming out tomorrow, so get subscribed, get your notifications on. And I know you're listening on YouTube now, you're watching on YouTube now, but you might not be a massive fan of YouTube, and I can understand that. I fucking hate YouTube sometimes, and I quite like to listen to my podcasts, and I can't keep the YouTube app open, because YouTube is awful like that. So, yeah, instead, if you want to check it out, we're also on Spotify here, Nostalgia Bit. The new episode is coming out tomorrow, so it'll just appear here right at the top of the feed. Yeah, we've got episodes of all sorts. The last episode we did was about YouTube, about Mr. Beast. I talked to Mr. Beast one time before he was famous. That's a fun story that you'll get to hear about in the podcast, as well as talking about like just TikTok and all that sort of stuff. It's a bit more analytical and interesting, that one, I would say, because it was just a bit of a waffly one about everything we know about YouTube, and I've been here for a few years, so there's a lot of stuff. If you want to know my thoughts on YouTube and how to grow on YouTube, it's probably a place to look as well. That's a bit of a more of a casual one. We talk about Costco, podcasting, YouTube, as well as more stuff, and obviously Star Wars as well. We always talk about Star Wars and Doctor Who, and that one's a fun one as well. But those are our recent episodes. They're all good stuff. You can watch it on Spotify, you can watch it on YouTube for the video versions, and if you want to just listen to it or whatever, it's also available on Amazon. It's also available on Apple. It's also available on Google, Castbox. There's loads of places it's available. Really, really would appreciate you checking it out. But as I said, the next episode is going to be the full Doctor Who Season 1 review. So if you want to get a full review from me, that's where it's going to be. I might put clips of it on this channel, so you can stay tuned for that. But initially, it's going to be out here on Nostalgia Bait tomorrow morning at 10 AM here on YouTube, Spotify, and all the other lovely places I've said. So please do get ready to check that out. Love my little Sutek thumbnail. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Thank you all for tuning in for that, obviously. Do love to promote the podcast just a little bit. I'll put the Spotify link in there as well. Just make sure you're giving us a follow. Make sure you're subscribing. It's always, always greatly, greatly appreciated. But yeah, thank you all very much for all that. We're now going to move over to... let's play 13. I like 13. 13 is a game we play every week. It's a lot of fun. 13 is a lot of fun. We like to play 13. And basically just throw me your questions and answers about the latest Doctor Who series, about the podcast, about anything you want to ask questions about. You can ask them now, and we'll answer them as we play this game. How would you feel if we saw a Dan or Yaz cameo in Shooty's Run? I think it'd be interesting. I don't see what... I wouldn't personally choose to do it, but I get that would be cool. A cameo of anyone's cool. I don't care what era. It's like always cool to have references to older Doctor Who, you know? I got 10 and 13 the other day. I made my day. Thoughts on Tales of the TARDIS? I thought Tales of the TARDIS was very good, actually. I was very impressed with that. Now, I've already seen Pyramids of Mars. A lot of people get very... Oh, God, a lot of people get very bitchy about, you know, like edits and stuff like that. But I think it was pretty good, to be honest with you. Now, I'm not like a super fan when it comes to the classics. Like Pyramids of Mars, for example. But I am a fan of the show, and I do enjoy these old episodes, and I think these old little recreations are just different ways to watch them. They don't replace the original, they don't replace your favourites. They are just new and different ways of watching it, and it makes it more accessible for a new audience. And I think Doctor Who fans, especially classic fans, shouldn't ever turn their nose up to that. It's always, always good to get new fans in. That's what you want. Especially for the older stuff, because not many people watch the older stuff other than fans, and that's not a bad thing. It just is true, and that's good. So my podcast co-host, Cooper, as you'll find out in tomorrow's podcast episode, if you have a listen to it, we actually talked about this, because he'd never seen any Classic Who before. He's never seen any Classic Who, and the first thing he's ever watched from Classic Doctor Who is the Pyramids of Mars edit. What did he think about it? You'll have to wait and see tomorrow. But it was interesting. It was really interesting chatting to him about that, because I didn't know he'd, watched it. I didn't know also that he had enjoyed it, or that he also hadn't watched any Classic Who before. I thought he had, because we've been friends for years, and I've always talked about Doctor Who with him. I would have thought by now he would have absolutely have watched some Classic Who, but I can, again, completely understand why not. It wasn't the most accessible before this year. Now it's on iPlayer, and now we're getting, yeah. Oh, Blind Wave reaction to Pyramids of Mars was great, and that's the kind of content you get. Don't ever turn your nose up, even if you don't like the edit that much. It's like, come on, it's good to have it, man. Like we're in an era where we can get this sort of content so like rapidly, and the BBC are actively funding updated VFX, sound effects, music, like omnibus edits of old Doctor Who episodes. That's a really, really good thing. We should be happy about that. Any ideas of how Ruby will come back in Season 2? I think she'll just be around. I think the Doctor will be like, I actually need someone for this. And he'll go back and visit Ruby. And then they'll sort of do... Basically, I'll tell you what they'll do. They'll basically do what they did in Series 4 with Martha. That'll be what it is. And I respect them for that. I think that's a good thing to do. Look at that, beautiful. I started watching when it came on iPlayer, so good to have them care about these things while making them available for free as well. In terms of the TARDIS, it's an interesting idea to introduce new fans to the classic series. 100% it is. People turn their noses at it and they go, oh, this isn't, oh, it's better in the original story. Watch the original story then. You're thinking sometimes it's not, I mean, obviously it's for fans, it's great to have that, but like, it's to introduce people to the story who aren't aware of it ahead of the finale. That's really the main purpose. And in that, it very much succeeded. I watched the original Pyramids of Mars before Series 1 even aired. Which was just good timing, really. I think I heard the rumours of Sutekh coming back, and I was like, well, just in case, I want to make sure that this is going to really hit hard for me. So I'll watch it and see. But, like, it's not... I didn't really see many differences in it. A lot of Die Hard fans, but well, they didn't have this one scene with it. It's like, I don't give a fuck. I really don't care if they didn't have one scene of something. It's like, it doesn't mean that they don't care. It means that they're trying to make it accessible. And the fact of the matter is, as good as your favourite Doctor Who stories were or are, it doesn't mean that they're the most accessible thing in the world for a general audience. And that's really who we're trying to prioritise. And I just fucked that up really badly. So I'm really annoyed at myself for that. Damn. Ain't that annoying? Okay. Okay, yeah, exactly. If they like what they see, they'll go back and watch more Classic Who. It's interesting, again, talking to Cooper on the podcast about this, and again, please do, I urge you to watch tomorrow's episode, especially as a Doctor Who fan. You'll probably get a lot more out of it than the usual Nostalgia Bait episode, because it's actually about something you're interested in, you know? Which is not how I would usually sell our podcast. It's a good... I'm really proud of the podcast and what we've done with it. And I think if you haven't listened to it and you're into Doctor Who and you enjoy this channel, you'll absolutely bloody love it. It's a solid show. I'm proud of it. Fucking game over. Typical. But especially with this sort of episode, it's all Doctor Who themed, and we talk about classic Doctor Who, we talk about new Doctor Who, we talk about more niche things than we would if it was just a general audience kind of episode. I'm not the BBC, I'm not trying to just appeal to a general audience. I am to some extent, but that's why not every episode is about Doctor Who. That's why we do different things. But this episode is about Doctor Who, so we go all in. I'm not shying away from niche topics such as classic Who. Got to talk about it. It's part of the show. It's part of the show's history. And Cooper, my co-host, is a fan of Doctor Who, but has never watched classic Who before. And I think that's incredible. I think that's really interesting, and I think when I talked to him about it, I was like, "This is fucking good content," because I'm interested as a Doctor Who fan. I'm always interested to see what people think of something for a first time. Is there any aspect of 15 that you like more than most Doctors? It's a really good question. I do. Stop overselling it. Well, you'll have to just watch it then, won't you? I'm not being funny, but I make the podcast for fun, and I want people to watch it, so of course I'm going to talk about it. You guys tune into the stream every week. We know we talk about it. Of course we advertise it. It's there. Like, what do you expect me to do? Just not fucking talk about it? So the question I was sort of answering, so with 15's character, the thing that I really like, and a lot of people have whined about it being like it's too emotional. No, I disagree. I don't think there's any such thing as too emotional, I don't think there's such thing as any of that shit. Frankly, I think it's all important to have that, and I think seeing Doctor Who was always about being a role model, right? It was always a role model to use your head and not fight with violence, right? It's always something that's been echoed throughout generations with Doctor Who. The Doctor as a character is a phenomenal role model for using your head to get out of situations, not smashing up stuff, not fighting, not like shouting, well, sometimes shouting, but using your brain, right? Oh my god, another super chat, thank you very much. Timothy Skrelek. Am I the minority of really liking Sutekh as being portrayed by... I'll read that again. Am I in the minority of really liking Sutekh being portrayed in his Anubis Anubis god form instead of the mummy helmet from the original series. I love it. I think people have a problem with big CGI stuff, and I think when people see a returning villain, they want it to look exactly the same. But we got elements of it, and I really liked seeing it as a big sort of creature. So yeah, I'm feel free to answer that one, chat. But I really like that as well, and I sort of talked about that, and I love it. We'll talk more about that in just a minute. But with the whole thing of the emotion of this series, it's been a very interesting point. A lot of things that people criticise about this series, which I think is interesting. For me, Doctor Who's always been a fantastic role model, right? Always has been. A really great role model of how to sort of be in life, and not to, again, it's not about violence, it's about using your brain, being fucking smart about it, not thinking just to, And I think the Doctor's always been, historically, is quite cold, and quite stoic and quite cold and quite heroic in a way as well. And it's not that the Doctor's never cried, but what I really like is that Ncuti's Doctor is so in touch with his emotions, because at the minute there is a stigma. There's a masculine stigma to not get upset about things, to not cry about things, to not allow yourself to feel emotional about things, when it's completely normal to feel emotional about things. It's completely normal to cry. It doesn't make you any less masculine to show emotions, right? We're in a world where the support and knowledge of male mental health is getting better and better, and that should be absolutely celebrated and recognised and represented in TV and shows like Doctor Who. And that's what I love about Ncuti's Doctor, is because he's so much more emotionally available. Some people see it as like, oh, well, he's just a fucking crybaby, but actually he has trauma. He's letting out his emotions. He's a more emotional Doctor. That's part of his character, and I think it's a wonderful part of his character that is almost needed, I think, in the show in the modern world, and I love that. There's a sort of toxic masculinity aspect. A lot of people come talking about how emotional Ncuti is, but not actually mention that Ruby's cried almost every episode as well. But they don't do that, do they? They criticise the man who's crying and call him a fucking crybaby, but they don't criticise the woman for crying, and I think that's interesting from a societal point of view. We're getting quite deep now. I'm aware of that, but for me, yeah, I love that we see that, and I love that he's emotional, and I love that aspect of his character wholeheartedly. I think it's a really important and special part of Ncuti's character that I absolutely adore wholeheartedly. So yeah, I have no issues with that at all. I know a lot of people do. A lot of people, too much crying, but like, actually, it's valid and it's fucking important and it's good. And Ncuti is a fucking great actor. So Christ, let him bloody cry on command. He's fucking great. Yeah. How would you rank the finale amongst the other seasons? Well, we can go back. So, we go, is Empire of Death better than blank? Right. The Vanquishers. Yes. Timeless Children. Close. I quite like the Timeless Children. But I'd probably say it's not. It's better than that. Definitely better than Ransgrave Kolos. Dr. Falls and World Nothing Time. No. That's better. Heaven Sent and Hellbent. Probably slightly better. Hellbent does take it away a little bit, but it's still good. Hellbent is better now. It's had time to simmer. But I don't know. It's quite a close tie with that one, I think. I'm trying to think, actually. What else was before that? We had Dark Water, Death in Heaven. It's probably around the same sort of vibe as Dark Water and Death in Heaven, really, isn't it? You think about it. Kind of very similar vibes. It's not a bad thing at all. But very unit heavy. A bit more of that sort of side of things. Yeah. And then before that, Name of the Doctor. I think Name of the Doctor's pretty good, to be honest, I can't lie. I know it's a bit of a naff episode, but I do like it. I do enjoy it, I have to say. I do get a lot out of that one. I really do. Before that, I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't know. The more we go back, the more I'm like, yeah. Hellbent at the time, I didn't like, and a lot of people didn't like it. But the thing is, and I think the thing that's really important to remember with Doctor Who, right? When you're in an era of something, it's the worst thing in the world, because you're like, this is terrible, this is the worst thing I've ever seen, yada, 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 yada. You do judge it more harshly, right? Of course you do. Because you're in the era that it's in, and everything's important. All the story points are relevant to what's going to happen next. Hellbent, what happens in Hellbent, you know, like Capaldi's not regenerating, Stephen Moffat isn't leaving it at the end of Hellbent. It's a big thing. You want to work out exactly what's going on there, and that's a big part of that story, is that. But now, what do I do here? Should I go? I think I should go down. Yeah, I can do that. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, but when you're not in the era anymore, it doesn't matter. That's the point I was getting to. Took a while to get there, but that's the point I was making. When you're out of the era, it doesn't fucking matter. Asylum of the Daleks is bad, yeah, but who fucking cares, right? Because now that is long gone, and the ramifications of that episode are long past. So who gives a shit anymore? No one does. I don't care. I don't care about that. I don't care about Hellbent being not perfect, because it's not relevant anymore. What happens in that episode is not. It's not like it's non-canon, right? But it's not happening now. It's not. The story ramifications of that aren't happening right now. So what's done is done, and it's there, and it's a bit of television, and it's a good bit of television at that. So what's done is done, as I said. Oh my god, we got Tennant. Okay. Do you think they'll release the scripts? I think they will. How do you rank the episodes of R2D2? Well, I'm not going to talk about that just yet, because the series itself, the ranking of all the episodes in the series will be out in our podcast episode tomorrow. So I'm not going to spoil that. I want to give you guys some incentive to listen and watch that podcast tomorrow. But as it stands, I will say that nothing for me has beaten Wild Blue Yonder. That is, for me, an all-timer. And it hasn't been beat yet. It only gets better in my estimations as we get more episodes that aren't quite as good as that, in my eyes. I just think it hasn't been topped yet for me. It hasn't been topped yet for me in this era. I absolutely adore it, and the more I think about it, the more I love it. It's a brilliant fucking bit of TV, and I'm very, very happy we got that as part of the 60th, and not just some fan wanky sort of mess, right? I'm just delighted about that. TARDIS CGI could have been better in Wild Blue Yonder. Wild Blue Yonder could do with not like an actual fucking funded remaster, but it could do with a fan remaster. It definitely could, because there's some CGI and that just doesn't look great, and that would be lovely to see. I'd love to do like a noir version of Wild Blue Yonder. I've always sort of talked about this. I'd love to do that. I think it would work so well, and I know I did World Enough in Time a few years ago, but my love for this episode just continues to grow, and I sort of think that maybe that's a project I could have a think about in the future. You never know. Oh, I fucked that. That is terrible from me. Okay. That's fine. That's fine. We're sorted now. It's all good. We're doing alright here, you know. Not the best we've ever done, as you can see by our phenomenal high score there. But, pretty good. We're going to do this until we finish, and once we finish this round, whether we have we'll probably have a game over, but when we reach game over, we'll be going over to twitch.tv, by the way, so stay tuned for that if you want to see some more just general Doctor Who chat, but also playing some video games. I'm going to be playing Lego Star Wars again, because it's chill, and we can do that. But we'll probably end up doing some more 13 as well, because it's a very addictive game, and I do enjoy playing it. Okay. Okay. That's really exciting. Oh shit! We're cooking now. We're cooking on gas now. Give me another question to waffle on about. Do you think that we'll ever see, at the very least, Donna again? No, I hope not. I think Donna's done now. We've had her come back, and it was glorious, and we got that. And how lucky were we to get that? Amazing, right? But I don't really feel like we really ever need to see that character again. That's not a bad thing. I'm not saying I don't like Donna. I love Donna. She's a great character. But do we need to see her again? Probably not. We don't actually need to see her again, do we? Let's be frank about it. We don't. I mean, a cameo, yeah, it's always possible, isn't it? You always get these things where it's sort of like, oh, you never know. You could actually get a cameo for this actor. You could have anyone from Doctor Who could, in theory, appear again, and they might. You never know. But for me, at the very least, oh Christ, I'm messing that up a little bit. I just don't think we ever need to see that character again, story-wise. But then I think I thought that anyway, of all companions from Russell's era, I thought it would be least likely that we would see Donna again, because her story was done, wasn't it? But then they found a way to redo it, so fair play to them. They made it work, and it worked really well for the special. So yeah, I'm glad they did it in the end, because it made for a really great bit of television, but beyond that, not really too sure. Okay, I want to just kind of keep this in check here. This is going alright, you know. It's not going too badly. You just don't want to mess it up, do you? That's the thing. Okay, very exciting. We could actually get to Matt Smith on this stream, which would be very cool. Not our complete high score of all time, unfortunately, but it's still very cool, because it's still quite hard to do anyway. Okay. So my soul for Peter Capaldi and Jenna Coleman to change their minds and come back for Tales of the TARDIS. I mean, that would be wonderful for it, but I don't know if I'd want to see them come back for Tales of the TARDIS. It would be magical, it really would. I'd love to see any New Who version of Tales of the TARDIS, because for me, that would be fucking amazing. You could still do a classic Doctor Who story, just do it through a different lens, you know? Have, like, Capaldi and Bill talk about, like, the Cybermen, the Mondasian Cybermen, and do an introduction for the 10th planet. That would be wonderful, considering how, like, connected that story was to Hartnell's last, you know? Like, how amazing would that have been? It just would have been brilliant. I could just, feel how good that would have been in that time if they'd made that sort of thing. Never would have done it, but yeah, the Tales of the TARDIS set is definitely something they should keep. Remember, TARDIS is a great idea that definitely needs to be repurposed in the future. I need to stop rushing this and just enjoy it, because this is one of the best, could be one of the best games we have. We never know. Okay, I need to not keep doing... Okay. There we go, we finally corrected that little stray hartnell we had there. 10th Planet Tales of the TARDIS, but with Bill and 12 would be incredible. That would be one of the best things they could ever fucking make in my eyes, to be honest. That didn't work out exactly how I wanted it to work out. That's fine. See, now I'm kind of fucked. But there's something I could do, but I don't really want to do it because it would mess things up. Yeah, I'm fucked now. Very good, though. That was a good effort. We almost got to Matt Smith, and I'm a bit disappointed we didn't because we were so very close. But you never know. Anyway, thank you for watching. We're going to be heading over to Twitch now. So, as I say, in the meantime, please do go over to the channel that I've mentioned before. I am going to promote it because it's a podcast that I make completely off, you know, just for content and for fun. And I want you guys to enjoy it. I want you guys to see it. And above all, as well, if you don't enjoy it, I want to know what you guys want to see on it. I want to have be a little bit of something. We've got 80 subscribers now. Thank you to the person who during this stream subscribed. It's linked in the chat now. There's 21 of you watching. That's at least 21 accounts. Go over there, drop a fucking subscription, and tomorrow morning you'll be able to see my full review of Tales of the No, that's wrong. My full review of Doctor Who Season 1, or Series 14, if you'll call it that. It was a really marvellous series that has a lot of highs and a lot of lows and a lot of things I like, a lot of things I don't like. Ultimately, it's probably Russell's weakest season, but I did thoroughly enjoy it, and it was nice to see some proper sort of Doctor Who style drama stuff. So please do go and check it out. Is it coming across as desperate? I don't know. I think it's part of the promotion, and because this week's a Doctor Who episode and it's tomorrow morning, yeah, we should do a Doctor Who Tales of the TARDIS episode. You never know. We'll definitely be doing more Doctor Who stuff in the future because I know that's what you guys enjoy and that's what you want to see. So we'll be doing more of those sort of stuff. But yeah, go and check it out. Links in the chat now. And tomorrow morning will be our full review of Season 1 of Doctor Who. In the meantime, thank you for watching. We're going to be going live on twitch.tv/georgesheard. We usually go on there every single Tuesday, or whenever we do a Who Bulletin, we go here straight after, and we'll be streaming tonight from now until about 10 o'clock. So if you've got some more burning Doctor Who questions you want to ask, head over to Twitch now. Come and join a lovely, chilled, relaxed live stream as we play a bit of LEGO Star Wars and answer some of your guys' burning Doctor Who questions. I'll still be talking about Doctor Who. I'll still be talking about the podcast, probably. Or just whatever you want to talk about. Whatever you want to ask or anything like that, you can come over there and join us. So yeah, feel free to head over there now, and I'll see you very shortly. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.